because there can be no progressive politics without us. And at the moment, we are basically inert. Now, there are many reasons for this. One is that people would like to claim a victory, even if the objective reality is that we have not achieved any great victory. But still, people would like one, and so they pretend that Barack Obama's politics are not what they are, what we actually see. So there's a kind of a delusional, a very curious, strange delusionism that we see in the black community. But the other is that folk are tired, and they don't want to struggle. But to paraphrase Frederick Douglass, if you expect a victory without struggle, it's like expecting rain without thunder and lightning. There can be no victory without struggle. And struggle means struggling against the powers that be, the powers of the state. And the state is run by a person named Barack Obama. And if we don't name him as our adversary in those cases in which he has presented himself in opposition to our broader goals of peace and justice and self-determination, then certainly we can't effectively struggle.
Well, now, this is a very interesting point, and something that I'd like particularly the audience to understand is that Bill Bennett is the former Secretary of Education, and Bill Bennett is able to express his opinions like these opinions on mainstream television in the United States. He's on CNN, which means he has an international audience, and he does this all of the time. But we have a distinguished panel of guests here who almost never have the opportunity to present their views, and thank goodness we have American Dream. I'd like for us to go to our next quote from the former secretary, just so we can remind people and let people know who Bill Bennett really is. The quote begins, "I do know that it's true, that if you wanted to reduce crime, you could. If that were your sole purpose, you could abort every black baby in this country and your crime rate would go down." Now, Bill Bennett gets to sit as an expert on CNN, Fox, international news, national news reports. Jared, what do you think about this?
Well, I mean, you know, American media from its inception in this country was described as, early scholars in the field said, a fourth arm of the U.S. military. It is here to provide a specific militarized purpose and function in sustaining American hegemony in the world and maintaining order within the country itself. So it is no different than Pat Buchanan being given 2 weeks on the McLaughlin Group to specifically call for the assassination of Robert Mugabe with no adequate response. Where black heads of state can be just, you know, called out for, targeted for assassination by people on national television. But more specifically, I think it goes back to the underlying concerns and needs of this country to elect a President Obama. The role of it as the singular empire, the damage it had sustained over 8 years of Bush, the numerous times that it was mentioned in popular press that Barack Obama, because of this legacy that Marion is talking about, does not have the baggage of slavery, as they said, was the quote used often over and over again. So that there could be this idea that we would be able to, as I said a moment ago, raise up even the lowest among us to the highest levels, demonstrating the power and the forward thinking of this country at a time where, as Glenn alluded to a moment ago, the material conditions of black people in this country are in fact getting worse and getting less attention today than at probably any time in certainly modern American history. So what we're seeing here is the use of popular imagery on a global scale to deny the kinds of gross inequality that maintain and are, again, worsening in this country. And at a time where Bill Bennett can get away with saying these types of things, where people like those of us convened here cannot have adequate access to raise certain important questions. And as Frank Wilderson has written, the power to raise the question is the most power, is indeed indicative of the greatest power to even raise certain questions. So we aren't even allowed to do that much in response to this kind of nonsense. And yet he is able to, at the one time, talk about connecting the death of black children to lower crime rates, and talk about the wonders of the American nation at electing a black president that can overcome the racism. And we should also remember that Teddy Kennedy at the Democratic National Convention, in fact, said an election of Obama, quote, closes the door on discussions of race, gender, and even sexual orientation inequality in the country. So how election of a black man deals with all of that is in itself remarkable. But they were saying it quite up front, that the goal here is to close the door on these discussions, to make these discussions of racial inequality, white supremacist, capitalist abuse of black people in this country, render them moot. And they're succeeding to a great extent.
That fits right in with the next quote that we have from Dick Morris. Let's go directly to our quote. And what Dick Morris says is, by winning in a totally white state shows that racism is gone as a factor in American politics. Glenn, can you tell me, is that true? Is racism gone as a factor in U.S. politics?
Well, all we have to do is look in the prisons where 1 out of every 8 prisoners on the entire planet are African Americans, and we know, of course, that racism is not gone in the United States. In this current economic crisis, the black middle class, however it's measured, has been decimated and totally out of proportion to their numbers. That's because of what? Institutional racism in this country. But you know, when you have Pat Buchanan speaking against black interests, that's to be expected. They will always be with us. The only interesting aspect of that is that Pat Buchanan and his ilk are happy with Barack Obama's ascension. That should cause us some pause. But what is, of course, much more important is what Barack Obama does as president, and he affirms their belief that this new age of race neutrality, when black grievances are deemed illegitimate, has arrived. It is Obama who, at his 100-day press conference, when asked by a BET reporter about what was he going to do specifically about black unemployment, which historically has been at twice the level of white unemployment and is getting even higher in this crisis. When asked what he specifically was going to do about black unemployment, Obama bluntly told him in so many words, nothing. He said that a rising tide lifts all boats, which is a Reagan-esque kind of statement, signifying, no, I'm not going to do anything in particular for black America. And when Barack Obama boycotts and sabotages the Durban Review on racism, which in fact is a continuation of Bush's policy on the Durban process, well then that creates an internal problem in the black community. It doesn't do anything to Pat Buchanan's hostile politics. They remain the same. But it creates a crisis for us because we, as a body politic, I'm talking about black folks, don't know how to respond to a black person who takes positions that are inimical to our interests.
Glenn,
that's where the crisis comes from.
Glenn, you've mentioned several issues that are extremely important, and I would like to take this opportunity to go to the State of the Dream report that was done by United for a Fair Economy, Enduring Disparities in Black and White. It was published in 2004. What they say is, in some areas, the racial gap has actually widened since the 1960s.